Klay Thompson is officially moving on from Dallas, and his next chapter could make the Miami Heat even more dangerous in the Eastern Conference. After agreeing to a buyout with the Mavericks, the four-time NBA champion is expected to join Giannis Antetokounmpo in Miami. The move gives the Heat another proven veteran and one of the league's most recognizable shooters.
I think it's a good fit for Klay. I mean, it's certainly better than the Mavericks, right? I mean, the Mavs were going nowhere fast. Apologies to Cooper Flagg and Kyrie Irving, but the Western Conference is absolutely loaded. So it's not surprising to me that he wanted a buyout, and it's also not surprising to me that he lands in Miami because he's sort of a perfect fit. Now, yes, he's 36 years old. He'll be 37 in February. How much does he have left? This is the back end of his career. But when you were looking at that starting lineup previously, so they bring in Giannis, they have Bam. That's a great front court, right? Andrew Wiggins, they retain Andrew Wiggins. I'm a Davion Mitchell fan. Some casuals might not be as up on Davion as I am, but then the question was, well, who's the fifth starter? And initially I was thinking, man, this is a little difficult for the Heat because, they sign Tim Hardaway Jr. Is Tim Hardaway Jr. going to be their fifth starter? Well, no, I think it's probably going to be Klay, and they can certainly use him there because they were in desperate need before grabbing him, and even after grabbing him, of shooting and floor spacing, and they're still really thin after that first five, but Klay definitely fills a need. Even at 36 years old, he's still a fantastic shooter. Yes, he's lost a little bit on the defensive end where he used to be gangbusters. He's not quite as good as he used to be back in the day, but the Heat could use all the help that they can get in terms of the shooting and the floor spacing department, and Klay will definitely help on that front.
So if we're looking at Klay, and I know he was in Dallas, and we're talking about, this is not the Klay that we're used to seeing, right? He's 36, but also coming off of career worst in a lot of categories, points per game, three-point percentage, just to name a few. Are you expecting a little bit of a bounce back and moving forward for him with this change of scenery?
Yeah, I mean, probably, because look, the Mavs, yes, he had a down year with the Mavs last year, but the Mavs had a lot of things wrong with them last year, up to and including the fact that Cooper Flagg had exactly no help in the backcourt. Kyrie Irving goes down. The front office had a lot of turnover, and so they asked Cooper Flagg to do a lot, and Klay Thompson didn't have a lot of help beyond Cooper Flagg. So I think in Miami he'll have considerably more help, right? Because you're playing alongside Giannis, you're playing alongside Bam, Andrew Wiggins, still a really good player. So I think he'll get a lot cleaner looks, a lot better shots in Miami than he would have gotten and certainly did get last year in Dallas. Now, again, 36 years old. This is the back end of his career. He's going to be 37 halfway through the season. So you can only ask so much of him. But in terms of potential landing spots, I thought okay, does he maybe go back to Golden State? Could he potentially play with the Sixers or go to LA where his dad played with the Lakers? The Spurs could use him. A lot of teams at this minimum level salary that he's going to be getting in Miami would have been happy to sign Klay Thompson, even at his advanced age, even at the back end of his career. So I suspect that he'll have a much better season this year in Miami than he did last year in Dallas.
So I know the West is very, very stacked, but if we look at the East, obviously we have the defending champs, we have Boston, we have this new look, your new look 76ers with LeBron there. If we're thinking of Klay and that veteran leadership in the locker room, he's got that championship experience. How much does this move the needle for Miami in terms of the Eastern Conference in your eyes?
Yeah, probably not much. I mean, I just got done saying that I think that it's a good fit for Klay. It's a good fit for Miami. The problem is what you just went through. The Eastern Conference is really good. Forever, we used to say and dump on the Eastern Conference and say that it was the inferior conference compared to the Western Conference. It might still be, but it's infinitely better than it used to be, Jacqueline, because you do have the defending champ, New York Knicks, in the Eastern Conference. After that, yes, the Celtics lost Jaylen Brown and traded him to Philadelphia, but I think the Celtics with a full season of Jason Tatum are going to be really good. Still one of the best teams and one of the deepest teams in the NBA. We mentioned the Sixers, one of the best starting fives now, with Jaylen Brown in that starting unit alongside LeBron James. The Cavaliers just traded for Peyton Watson. They're really good. The Pistons were atop the Eastern Conference all season long. You go on to the Raptors. The Raptors potentially have Kawhi Leonard. Even if they don't, they were vastly improved last season. Then I think you finally get to the Heat. When you look at the odds, according to the betting lines, they're seventh to win the Eastern Conference. I think that's about right. Their win total over under is 44.5. I think that's about right. And I don't know that Klay Thompson really changes any of those numbers. I think that they'll be pretty solidly a play-in team at the very least, maybe fighting for the playoffs proper. But again, there's such a front load of teams that they'll have to climb over in the East. Even with Giannis and Bam, I think it's going to be tough for the Heat in terms of all those other teams that they're going to have to get past. So it's a nice signing to get Klay Thompson. They're happy to do it, but I don't think that it moves the needle all that much.
Yeah, we saw it there, plus 4,000 +4,000 to win the finals. They're 15-1 alongside the Orlando Magic to win the East.
Yeah.
John, we want you to, put yourself in the minds of Miami Heat fans, Heat culture,
Okay.
right? You're there at the Kaseya Center, if that's what it's still called these days, right there in downtown Miami, whatever. And at one point, you get Giannis and you're hearing Pat Riley say, we got another plane to land, and we're thinking it's going to be LeBron. Now you're looking at the starting five. It's Klay alongside Giannis and Bam. How do you think Heat fans should feel when you're looking at the offseason in its totality and all the moves that have been made up until this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's not great, right? Because they were talking about landing that second plane, and that second plane ended up landing in Philadelphia, much to the surprise of me and everybody else. Nobody expected LeBron James to go to the Sixers, but he did. So you're thrilled if you're the Miami Heat fans, Heat culture. Pat Riley goes and he sets a sight on Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's great. That's fantastic. It's certainly better than what they had last year. And you pair him with Bam in that front court. That's looking really good, right? They could have lost Andrew Wiggins. They didn't. They bring Wiggins back. Now they lose Norm Powell. I like Norm Powell, but it's not the end of the world. But as we discussed, even after getting Klay Thompson, that starting five, it's not the greatest starting five in the Eastern Conference. It's better than it was, but it's not probably a team that's going to contend for Eastern Conference supremacy and potentially a championship this season. Because look, in order to get Giannis, you still had to trade Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, who I'm high on, Jaime Jaquez, who was a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. So after that starting five, it gets really thin really fast. So I think if you're a Heat fan, you're feeling really good that you got Giannis. You're feeling good about how he looks in that starting unit alongside Bam. It's something to root for, but they still have more work to do. And I think Pat Riley knows that. So good start. They're not done yet, though.
Yeah, I think if you're a Heat fan, you're praying that Spo can work his magic on some of these guys that are on the bench, right? Like we've seen so many times before. John, we certainly appreciate it. Hopping on for that breaking news. Klay Thompson taking his talents to South Beach. He's now on the Miami Heat alongside Giannis and Bam. So we're looking at the odds to win the finals. The Heat on the far right towards the bottom at +4,000. And as mentioned, 15-1 to win the East.
I think Klay Thompson joining Miami makes a lot of sense because the Heat need exactly the kind of experience and shooting that he can provide. Even though he is no longer the same player he was during his peak with Golden State, his ability to stretch the floor can still be extremely valuable next to Giannis. The biggest attraction is obviously the possibility of seeing Klay play alongside Giannis. Giannis demands so much attention inside that having a player like Thompson on the perimeter can create more space for him to attack. If Klay gets comfortable in that role, Miami could become much harder to defend. There are still legitimate questions about Klay, especially after what happened in Dallas. The transcript points out that he averaged around 13 points per game before the buyout, which shows that expectations have to be realistic. Miami cannot expect the old Warriors version of Thompson to suddenly return. At the same time, the Heat are adding a player with enormous championship experience. Klay has won 4 NBA championships and has played in countless high-pressure games. That experience could be particularly important for a Miami roster trying to compete against the strongest teams in the Eastern Conference. The conversation also raises an interesting question about Miami's starting lineup and where players like Tim Hardaway Jr. fit. With Giannis and Klay already taking major roles, the Heat will have to find the right balance between scoring, spacing, defense, and veteran leadership that could determine whether this roster becomes truly dangerous or simply talented on paper.